Hello everyone, welcome back to Thankful Thriftiness and Sewing Baby Basics Part 2. At the recording of this video, I am currently 30 weeks pregnant with our little girl, and we are so excited to meet her, Lord willing, in about 10 weeks. There are a lot of things we need to get done ahead of time, however, and you guys know me by now, if there is a way, I prefer to make things handmade. For one thing, it can save some money, and for another, it's just fun to have customized goods. And I enjoy sewing, so it all kind of works together. Today I'm going to show you how I made a nursing cover and some nursing pads. Both of these are beginner-friendly projects, and I really am pleased with how they've turned out. For instructions on this nursing cover, I looked at the blog Farmhouse on Boone because I enjoy Lisa's content for pretty much everything from sewing, cooking, homesteading, all the above. So I will include a link below to that blog post, although I did make some alterations to the pattern, which I'll share in this video. To make this nursing cover, you will need 1.5 yards of lightweight fabric. I really liked how this one was very pretty, kind of gender neutral. I'll be wearing it, so even if it was a little girly, I wouldn't mind too much, but I think it would work whether our next baby is a boy or a girl. A set of 1-inch D-rings to fasten the strap, 14 inches of boning, and some thread. The first step is to cut out your fabric. For the main body of the nursing cover, you will need a piece of fabric that is 26 inches by 36 inches or 1 yard. Be really careful when cutting lightweight fabric, as it can tend to shift around and warp until you might not have exactly a rectangle. So measure as many times as you need to make sure you get the correct fit in the end. For the long strap, cut out a piece of fabric that is 28 inches long and 3 inches wide. Lastly, for the strap holding the D-rings, cut out a piece of fabric that is 10 inches long and 3 inches wide. To begin sewing this nursing cover, I folded the strips used for the straps in half lengthwise, pinning the sides together with the right sides of the fabric facing each other. For the long strap, I folded under 1/2 inch at the end before sewing. As you will see later, it will help this side have a finished look, as it will be visible at the end of your project. Using a 1/4 inch seam allowance, I sewed along the length of the straps along the pinned edge. Tuck the safety pin into one side of your strap, and then pull the safety pin through and continue pulling until your strap is flipped right side out. Then it is time to press your straps for top stitching. For the small strap holding the D-rings, I placed the seam in the center of the strap before pressing, and for the long one, along the edge, because it will be visible. Once the straps were pressed, I did a top stitch along the length of both of the sides of the short strap, and then for the long one, a seam along both of the sides lengthwise, and then the top where I tucked in the 1/2 inch. Top stitching just makes it overall look more pretty, holds everything in place, and reinforces the seams to make them stronger. Then for the small strap, I folded it in half, inserted the D-rings, and sewed a small seam very close to the D-rings just to hold them in place and make them a lot easier to deal with. To hem the main piece of fabric, I laid it out on my ironing board with the right side underneath and the wrong side facing up. I then folded the edges over 1/2 inch and pressed all the way around, and then folded it in another 1/2 inch and pressed all the way around again. When I returned to my sewing machine, I sewed and hemmed along the 2 short sides and 1 of the long sides. I left the top long side open because that will be used to insert the boning and the straps. To find where to locate the boning and the straps, I folded the main piece in 1/2 lengthwise, pinning along the unfinished edge in the direct center. I then measured 7 inches to the right of that pin and marked it, and 7 inches to the left. This will mark exactly where to place the boning, and then I placed a strap outside of each of those pins. The long strap on one side and the D-ring strap on the other, tucking the edges of the strap underneath the hem and pinning in place. Next, I sewed all the way down the length of the main piece, catching the straps, but leaving a centimeter gap right before the last strap, where I will insert the boning. This is where I kind of took my own variation on the project, and I added another top stitch at the very top of the cover to hold the boning in place and to secure the straps where they were supposed to be. Finally, I inserted my boning into that centimeter gap I left, and I chose not to close the gap afterward because it's very handy to be able to remove this for washing. If your boning came wrapped in a fabric casing, I highly suggest removing that before you begin this project because it's just really impossible to insert otherwise. And that's it! I now have my own very comfortable nursing cover to use for my little lady and future children, and I can nurse in public and still have some privacy. This is very lightweight and breathable, so during the summertime I can nurse comfortably, but no one can see inside. And I get a nice little window here so I can check on my baby. For the nursing pads, these are seriously the easiest things to make. You can crank out a ton of them in a short amount of time and have quite the stockpile, which would be helpful so you don't have to wash them every single day, and you can wear some while others are dirty. To make these nursing pads, you will need 1 or 2 colors of 100% cotton flannel. I won't give you the exact measurements of how much you will need. That will depend upon how many you choose to make. So once I give you the measurements of the circles themselves, or once you determine that, then you can figure out how much fabric to purchase. For the pads, you will also need some 100% cotton batting and some diaper PUL or pull. I don't know what it's called or how exactly you say it, but ask for it at your fabric store and they'll help you find it. It's basically used in cloth diapering to keep the diapers from leaking, which is very helpful to have for nursing pads. The last item you will need is 100% polyester thread. You do not want cotton because it has a tendency to leak. For each pair of nursing pads, you will need to cut out 4 circles of flannel, 2 circles of the pull or PUL, and 2 circles of the cotton batting. I cut mine with a 4.5 inch diameter. I don't know if there's like a universal standard size or if you can customize it, but just see what works for you and go with it. The next part is optional. I chose to fold mine in half and cut a little wedge, starting in the center and going out to the edge. At the edge, it was about 1 inch wide, or you could do a 1/2 inch wide, little wedge taken out, and then you want it to taper into the center. It's like a little dart and it just helps it better conform to my body, but again, that is totally optional. It should somewhat conform to your body anyways, but this was very helpful for me. Next, I sewed along the edges of those darts I made and tapered the seam to end at the center, just like you're sewing a dart for a dress. Once you have sewn darts in all your layers, if you choose to do so, you're going to make a bit of a sandwich with the layers, starting with a piece of the flannel with the right side facing down and the seam side facing up. Then add your layer of cotton batting, your layer of diaper pull, and your last layer of flannel with the seam side facing down. Don't lay the seams all on top of each other, kind of spread them out a bit so it's not all lumpy in one area. I then pinned around the edges of each of the pads. Unfortunately, I couldn't find my serger. It would be the perfect time to use it, but I was able to get away with just doing a zigzag stitch all the way around to secure it in place and then trimming the edges. You could also do an additional seam. It's entirely up to you, but I found that this was sufficient for me. And that's it. However, I would recommend that you wash these on high heat and then dry them on high heat to secure everything and let all the layers kind of mesh together and the diaper pull kind of fill out and provide maximum security against leaking. And that's how I sewed these baby basics. I have a few more things to make before the baby comes, so let me know in the comments below. Are there any basic baby items you'd like to see featured on this channel as tutorials? Thank you all so much for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day and happy sewing! Bye!